Welcome to the wrap-up of Week 6. We covered Chapters 11 and 12, Access Control for Implementation, and Remote Workers, how to protect everyone. How do we go about implementing a security system? First thing, we got to make sure, what did we talk about? We had to follow our standards, procedures, guidelines, and as we discussed, there was a whole bunch of different ones out there that we could have looked at. The policies allow us, the organization must have to ensure all employees follow it. Standards, there's different standards we could follow, the guidelines. So we looked at that. How do we go about implementing it? We want policies and procedures in place so everyone does the same thing. We looked at the IEEE standard. We look at the Federal Information Security Management Standards, ISO Act, Internet Engineering Task Force, PCI Security Standards, and Center of Internet Security. All these places provide standards for us that we can follow. Figure out which one meets our needs, which one are required to follow. Then we're going to put a policy in place. We're going to have that standard, and we're going to follow the standard. We're going to make sure that the passwords are changed on a regular basis, that they're using the maximum number of, or a good password, that they're not just using their password as a password. But we're going to look at making sure the procedures are followed to make sure that the system is safe. We're going to make sure we identify whoever's in the system. Multi-layer access, where you looked at. System control list, we talked a little bit about that last week. We talked a little bit about, in Chapter 11, home extranets and intranets. The intranet is for the business employees. The extranet is for external customers or suppliers and vendors. What do they need to get into? How we looked at the best practices, understanding the roles within the organization, understanding their data that's being protected. In Chapter 11. Chapter 12, we looked at remote users. This is the up and coming wave of the future. There's going to be more and more remote users. How are we going to protect that they're able to get access to our system and all that is secure? We could obviously look at software as a service where it's hosted on the internet. But bottom line is they're going to have to connect to our servers in some cases. So how do we ensure that they can get to that data, that they are who they say they are, that they are authenticated, and they have access to the data they need when they need it. Working from home, it might not be 9 to 5. It could be off hours. It could be during midnight to the morning. We don't know. But we have to make sure that whatever policies we have in place, that they're followed, that we allow the authentication, the authorization, the account. Are we going to be using a radius server? VPN, we looked at the difference of looking at what a VPN is and how that secures it, the virtual private network, point-to-point tunneling, layer 2, web authentication. These are all the best practice. How did we figure out what they had to do? So that's kind of some of the things we looked at this past week. We also had a couple things that were due. You had your paper, Week 6 paper, you had the discussion questions, your journal, and your quiz. So hopefully you got all that done. So, have a wonderful weekend, and remember to smile.